250. This show can be seen on Roku and Roku Fire TV sticks and Amazon Fire TV sticks and on ZingoTV on Chromecast and all smart TVs 2016 forward. Please remember to download the Barn Burner and ZingoTV apps in their respective app stores. Both are free on both iOS and Android devices. While you are using the apps, please remember to rate and leave a comment so we know that you are using them, enjoying them during your usage, and getting the most out of them. So that to be said, I have a very special guest on today's episode, and that is Karel Lamard from the Professional Women's Hockey Players Association. Karel, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Justin. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure. So we're going to talk everything PW today because we've seen a lot of success in year one. Then after the season ended, we saw some changes in terms of structure. But before we get to any of that, obviously we are amid the COVID-19 pandemic. So can you talk to me a little bit about what your life has been like the last, 7 months now?
Yeah, it's been quite different, but looking a lot like this right now. A lot of meetings for work on Zoom, trying to keep the training going here at the house, in the basement. I'm lucky to have some kind of like items here that I can work out here. Montreal is quite red zone, I think, or limited would be the best way to put it. We've been on a lockdown for the past 40 some days now. We went lockdown to a summer somewhat normal to back to lockdown. So we weren't even able to skate other than 2 players on the ice at a time with no coaches, sharing the ice basically. So 2 in one end, 2 on the other end. And we're actually going to, our group is fighting really hard to be exempt, to be able to actually skate and train together. So we should be starting that shortly. So very different. Trying to stay healthy and sane, I think, is the most important thing. And, focusing a little bit less on hockey and more so on things that are happening in the world, and that needs a bigger focus in a way.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's been a lot that's gone on during this time, which has obviously been very unfortunate, from protests to the presidential election to all sorts of other things that obviously require more attention. But, hockey is a way to, take our minds off of that every once in a while. Just because, God knows we need a break from all that just because we can't, yes, we have to put our energy into the more important matters, but at the same time, with the COVID-19 pandemic and all this, it's not the most healthy thing to be focusing on that 24/7. So, God knows we need a break. So that being said, going back to the Montreal region, I spoke to Laura Stacey about a month ago now, who's a new member to the Montreal region of the PWHPA. And she said that, I guess back then when I spoke to her, things were little less red zone than they were now, and so you guys were able to have more players start skating with Danielle Sauvageau, who I believe is the head coach or president, whatever role that she's in. So when you look at this new regional structure, I mean, not much has really changed in terms of Toronto and Montreal, but what has the experience just been like working with her since new coaching staffs were assigned in this new structure?
Yeah. So we're really lucky. Danielle Sauvageau is the president of this new center that's being built or will be coming to life. Basically, it was supposed to be open and everything a little bit earlier, but due to the pandemic. But the center is kind of going to be the house of any high performance women's hockey athlete. And with that being said, the umbrella that is underneath it, or we sit underneath that big umbrella. So the staff that we get is top notch. I mean, Sébastien Bordelot is one of the skills coach. We have many other coaches, women's and men, coming to coach us. And when you spoke to Laura, is probably when the group was getting together here at the Auditorium de Verdun, which is going to be our home rink in the near future. So a lot of things were exciting and kind of getting us all motivated and pumped for 2020, 2021 tours and stuff. So when the new lockdown hit, it was kind of a little bit of a again, shoot, we got to go through this whole thing and kind of like go back to square one. But what Danielle has done and the group here has done is quite amazing. We're gonna get to be put in that separate group and be able to practice as a group, as a team. And I mean, you alluded to that, but Laura Stacy is here now, and we have many other really good players and that join us and that came back too. So the group is exciting to be around. You know, although, and you mentioned it, like you want to get your mind off of real life a little bit and get back to hockey. And I couldn't agree more. I'm looking forward to see the girls. We're going to be spread out in multiple, if not 5 different locker rooms, just to stay safe and follow the very rigid protocol that that the center has established and got approved by the government. Yeah, it's looking forward to get on the ice. Probably will be wearing masks. A lot of little different aspects to it, but the game itself and just being able to skate with everyone will be will just be so enjoyable, and I'm looking forward to it.
I'm sure, and you hit the nail on the head there in terms of, you know, the distancing aspect that's likely to take effect. I was going to ask if there was any idea, and so I think that you mentioned the 5 locker rooms, and you know, sure, it's not ideal, but at the same time, you know, there's only so much you can do.
Better than nothing, and you should see the
Exactly.
protocol that we have to go through and the forms that we have to fill out prior, before, during. We have like the police COVID that are there from medical staffs, you know, to take your temperature and everything. So every single little aspects was thought through, and thank to Danielle and her group, to be honest. I don't think we would have been able to get on the ice as quickly as we will be if it wasn't for that.
Right, and you mentioned that this new center is being built by Savageau and her leadership team. Is there any idea of when that's going to be ready? Where are you guys skating right now? What does that look like? Or
So
well, you know, when I say right now, I kind of mean before you guys couldn't skate.
Yeah, so well, it's going to be like the house of it will be at the rink that we will be performing at, the Verdun auditorium. So that rink, just so you know, it's the old rink where the Montreal Canadian used to practice. So it's got tons of history and a very good location for us. And Verdun, as a township, or this little town within Montreal, I guess, or city within Montreal, is giving us finally the kind of priority over any other teams or any other schools. Like, this will be for the women's program here that will happen for the professional team, whenever that might be. Very cool stuff happening, but the center itself and the structure has been built for over a year almost by Danielle again. So that's why we are so ready to jump on board or have these protocols set up and have the volunteers or workers coming to help when it comes to just making sure everything is you know, following the rules and yeah, following the pandemic rules. That's the biggest thing.
Right. I mean, again, it's so important that those be followed. And you mentioned the wearing masks on the ice, and while sure that's unusual, I certainly expect that, you know, at least for the time being, that's going to be how things go. And so I guess to that end, my next question in terms of COVID stuff before we really get into, you know, Dream Gap Tour more related things, is there any idea of what those cohorts are going to look like? Especially because the way I see it is, and tell me if I'm wrong, just because I have family where you are in Montreal, but you know, from my point of view, or my understanding rather, is that the case numbers there are worse than Ontario right now, where I'm located. So how does that change the cohort plan?
Yeah, so I'm not sure where you're located, but Montreal's been hitting like 1,000 a day for a long time, and now finally is going down. And it keeps getting better and better, which we've been told better than Toronto now. So we'll see how that goes. But with that being said, you know, restrictions in where you're skating, other places, like I work from home, I'm not in the public, I'm not seeing anything. So I'm a bit in a different case with the people that do work in the public to be, you know, extremely careful with the distanciations, respecting all the red zone rules will be obviously something that they need to follow in order to train with this group. And it's also a matter of health and the high performance like gyms that let's say national team players do work out at, and then us being the excellent team partners to have actual high level practices is what needs to be done, right? So both groups do need to be extremely careful when it comes to the weekend activities. Just honestly, it's not that we weren't or anything. We've been following the rules. We've been staying away from any group gatherings. So, I think that we did everything prior to be able to actually get to this, where we will be on the ice and be exempt from this red zone area, because no hockey has been kind of like accepted. So we are part of the excellence type of group where the Olympians do need to train, and we need to, be there to make them or push them so that they have a true practice and that kind of stuff. So although the numbers are going down, we're still in a red zone for, I believe, another 15 days almost. It was 28 days that was added to another 28. So the end of November, I think. And so we will take any precautions, to make sure that we do not get kicked out or stopped from skating, I guess. So a little bit different than other provinces, but I think that the work that has been done behind the scene has been extremely, like, I wouldn't say perfect, but extremely detailed, so that we can actually have this kind of like exemption to get on the ice.
Right. And so that's kind of the thing I want to touch on next in terms of leadership and how this has all been set up. So you kind of put me in a great position to do that. And so, let's take a look at Jayna Hepburn now and how much that she's meant to the PWHPA in her operations consultant role in setting up Dream Gap tour stops in year one, setting up this structure with the right resources assigned to 5 different hubs rather than like 7 or 8 different hubs like year one, and really cracking down and making sure that, you guys as professionals have everything that you need at your hands in order to have the most success. And obviously this is a difficult time in order to do that, but can you talk to Jayna's success in being able to do that and what she means to you?
Yeah, no, I think that she came in, a little bit on the fly last year too, and was like, you know what, I want to come and help. I want to provide some kind of guidance here and there. And I think that even from last year to this year and the way how like things are changing, I think she's been an amazing leader and also an amazing listener to what the players wanted to go, where they wanted to go, how they wanted things to be run. We've learned a ton from the first showcases to the last one last year, and then the tour itself. I think right now we're looking, we've made tremendous amount of relationship or built them last year and had a lot of things kind of going for this year and already scheduled ahead of time, and things were going very well. And obviously COVID hits and you have to kind of like, okay, pause, analyze and react. And I think that's something that her and the board and Chelsea as well too have reacted really well to it. And I think that at times when you're not necessarily an expert, like who's an expert in pandemic? No one really. So reaching out to other people and other companies or things, how to manage certain situations, and also, listening to other mentors that are in different regions. Like I think Danielle and her have been on the phone many, many times. I think she's been in touch with the people in New England as well too. And I think that if it wasn't for those groups within the hubs, it would have been even harder for Jayna to get this done. So it's also giving the trust to the people in the regions to make sure that they, you need to hit these points, and then we trust that you will take this and make sure our players, get the resources they need and they deserve in order to train and be better. So I think she did an amazing job at being who she is, voicing her opinion and concerns, reaching out to people, and also a tremendous amount of like listening and hearing us out, players, and hearing the hubs and the regions, and taking into consideration all contexts when it comes to making decisions. Because in the end, she does present the solutions and everything, but we have a board that do make decisions, and without her kind of presentation or the way things are brought up to the board, or if conversations are not being happening, then it's even harder to make the right decisions for the rest of the group. So I think she's done quite the work so far, so we're happy.
Right, and tell me if you're wrong, but I believe you were on that board, right?
I'm not on the board. I was an official like speaker or delegate speaker here, and kind of like been acted as a Montreal rep. Hillary Knight was our rep in Montreal, and then due to COVID, she's now in Minnesota officially. So we're gonna kind of have like reps from each hub as well too, to facilitate the communication even more and more. But we've all been in touch too with the board members, and again, it's a good group. They are kind of covering every single aspects and coming from both countries, if not even Europe as well too. So we're in good hands too. So yeah.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the rep side of this and how that's kind of put Hillary into Minnesota with their training region. So that sets me up well for your next question as well, and that being the familiarity with teammates. And it's something that's been nice at the Montreal region, at least for the most part. Again, you see a new face like Laura Stacy, for example, but for the most part, you're with your former teammates from Lake Canadian de Montréal in the CWHL. So let's reminisce just a little bit, because I mean, I guess the way I see it is, wow, those were the days, and we miss that certainly. So what's it been like to go through this with them, given that, again, most of this team can be referred to as Lake Canadian with a couple of new additions?
Yeah. I think that's sweet that you guys still recognize us as that group too, and we don't want to get away from it. Lake Canadian was something special to us for sure, and us as a team and teammates, and you got Mary, Philippe, you got Enzo, you've got even Ambrose was there at the end, but Max was there, but then there's the Sarah Lefort, the Mel Rocher, the people that keeps on coming back. I think those are kind of like your go-to people, and Pooh and I are like really good friends, but to go through this with her and with other members that are doing the same things, and we're all in this together, and there's always a sense sometimes on teams of like the national players and the other players, and in our group it hasn't been felt, and it never was felt before, and again this year, when it became okay, like the national players you can get on the ice, then like the fight was there to get the rest of the team on the ice with the group. So it's just to prove that we never really felt excluded, and I think that's what made Montreal so special over the years. We had the national players, but we had a lot of really good non-national players, pro players, and I can't wait for people to talk about Cathy Chartrand and say that she was an amazing player, even if she never made it to the national like level or the Olympic team. But yeah, it's very it's very reconforting, or like a comfort in a way to have your long-time teammates beside you. You know how they are, them in and out in a way, and you just know that they're going to be there, and you can lean on them if you need anything too. I think that going through a pandemic is hard enough, and going through it alone, I wouldn't even imagine or become to imagine how much harder it is. And I think that I'm lucky, and we are lucky enough to have this group around us, although they're not physically there at times. You can always reach out, and you can always text or call someone, and I think that makes it even, I guess, makes it go by faster in a way, and you try to keep looking forward to something, and at times when one is negative, the other is positive, and it just keeps you keeps you up a little bit, and level, and not going down this like dark hole in a sense. So it's been very useful to have these longtime teammates, and I like I said, I just think everyone's been there for each other, regardless if they were a brand new player or an old timer. Like maybe Ansel would be considered that the one that's been to Montreal, or part of Montreal, the oldest now.
Oh,
But yeah, we've all been there for each other, and it's just how tight we are here. So it's easier, I guess.
right, and I think that's really special and, obviously a really touching sentiment. And so, obviously you guys got a huge sigh of relief somewhat recently with the announcement of the $1 million dollar sponsorship deal with Secret Deodorant to be the backing supporter of the 2021 Dream Gap Tour if and when that actually gets put into action. So, I mean, I've got 5 minutes left, so I'm going to try and squeeze in one more question after this. But can you talk about how much this really means to not only you, but everyone as members of the PWHPA to know that despite these, tremendously difficult circumstances, there is, a light at the end of the tunnel kind of deal?
Yeah, and I think it's you hit it on, like right there. I think knowing that they're coming in a really difficult time, and that they're supporting women's hockey in general is huge. I mean, their whole. I think it was the biggest sponsorship that women's hockey has received so far yet, and $1 million to help, and they become the biggest sponsor for the PWHPA showcases, like the whole Dream Gap tour, and it's you receive this in a time like that, and you're like still kind of like guessing if we're going to play or not, and this happened, and it's like, wow, they're jumping on board even if there's some uncertainty. And I think that's huge. I think that other companies are also now, looking at this and being like, wow, like good on Secrets, like good on them, and maybe we should do a bit more, or maybe they will consider this a bit, even maybe at a higher level than they were considering us before. But I just think that it's showing that women's hockey is something that has value, and we know it. We've been sharing it. You've known this, Justin, and thanks to you to put it on the platform and showing this to the world too. But it's the broadcast of this world, the people out there that can put us in people's like home and just be on TV and have these young girls see us and see what Secret is doing, and how equal sweat should be such a thing of equality, and that everyone should have the same opportunities at least. And it just gives you that boost for sure to look forward to 2021, and have that Christmas time, but then get ready, and hopefully COVID is, we've got a vaccine of some kind, and I don't want to be naive, but we're in a better spot than we are currently, so that we can focus on other stuff, and give some goods out there, put something else on TV than the COVID numbers, and I try to make people enjoy the game again. I think it's huge what they did, and couldn't be more thankful that they did it in a time where we probably needed it the most.
Well said. And yeah, I think it's super important. And I think that, again, things have gotten better. There is a trial that's saying 90% effective for a vaccine. So the hope obviously is that we get to enjoy the holidays despite it looking differently than a more positive 2021. So we'll see what that looks like. But knowing that there will be hockey being played thanks to Secret, I think is a huge part of this. And so, a huge shout out of recognition to them. So my last question for you is, and I don't want to put you on the spot here, but, we've heard talks about the WNHL for some time and the different ways that might come into effect, when that might come into effect. That's a long story of women's hockey as it is. So what are your thoughts on, the conversations that have been had from the NWHL needs to shut down to you guys can do it as separate entities to all this different stuff to establish that?
Yeah, I think the NWHL need to shut down stem from a beautiful quote that said, if there were one league, the NHL would jump on board, right? And I think that was like, it almost feels like it was years ago now. But we player chose not to join any current existent league, and there was a reason for it, and we wanted to establish something that would last and be sustainable, and that would provide more than was currently available. with that being said, the NWHL can absolutely coexist with us. It's just a matter of knowing that they are servicing two different things, and the product is different as well too. And it's nothing to say the least, but on the men's side, there's plenty of professional leagues, and they do serve different players. And I think that in that sense, we need to make sure that it's not a one or the other. It's being able to separate the two. And we have on our end 5 teams with over 40 some potential Olympians that are spread in these 5 hubs, and the level of talent is not even near what the NHL has. It's actually exceeding what they have as far as like if you compare if it's diluted or not. So it's a bit different. WNHL will happen one way or another. I don't know how and when, but I can tell you that the people want to see it, that we want to see it, us players. And, I said WNHL, but who knows what it will be named. I think it's a matter of realizing that, we are getting closer and closer. Women's hockey is getting closer and closer to have professional team, and then other leagues that also can maintain the talent. I think that it's sad that you graduate from college and you have to retire, or you have to hope to make a team that's a roster of 25, which is the national team. So creating these layers is absolutely super important, and the coexistence is can happen. It's not, yeah. People love to say it's like us versus them, or whatever that is, but it's not. It really ain't, and people just need to realize what the two opportunities are, and that's all.
Right. So with that being said, Corel, thank you so much for joining me today. I really, really appreciate your knowledge and insight here. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Justin. I appreciate it. Thanks.
My pleasure. So this has been another episode of PWHP Over the Glass on the Barn Burner TV network and ZINGOTV channel 250. Make sure you are following along with Corel Amard on Twitter. Corel, what is your handle?
Emard76 or KEmard76 for Instagram as well too.
So that's where you can find Corel. You can find me with more PWHPA updates at Justin Levine HBS, on Twitter at PWHPA, and PWHPA.com for further updates on the Dream Gap Tour for 2021, and at Barnburner.net for more shows just like this. So that does it for me. My name is Justin Levine. That's Corel Amard, and this has been another episode